Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. I want to do a special hello to the people who are watching us today on social media. I was reminded by Jimmy last week that we're having 90 people showing up, attending in our gatherings this past week, and another 100 or so watching us on the various social platforms. So we want to welcome you, and if you're new and you need information, send us a text. If you'd like to become a member, send us a message and we will send you a form. It's very simple. Today's talk I put together because I know part of our teaching, a great part of it has to do with inquiring within. And we tell you that you are one with life, you're one with spirit, and we tell you that you have a power within you that you can draw upon, a power within you that you can use. Ernest Holmes actually said there's power for good in the universe of which you are a part. Okay, so there's power, there's this omnipresence, it's in the universe, and most importantly to understand, it's in you and it's responding to you. This weekend, or this past week, I was working with a new book, in fact, a couple new books, and I was drawing some information from both of them, and there were a series of quotes from different leaders in the New Thought movement, and they go back really for centuries, and I thought it was interesting because you've heard said before, there's nothing new about New Thought. If you haven't, and I'm telling you now, Ernest Holmes basically put a lot of other people's ideas together in the creating of our philosophy. So I want to go over some of them. The people I'm going to briefly reference today will be Lao Tzu, Jesus, Aristotle, Rumi, Marcus Aurelius, William Blake, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Ernest Holmes himself, and Louise Hay. So we'll see how it goes. It was kind of fun learning about these people again. Of course, I've read about them through time. Jimmy, I need to have those. So once again, welcome to any of the people who are signing in. I understand there's still people signing in. If you're finding us on Facebook or YouTube, keep tuning in. It's probably more intimate to watch us on Zoom because then you have a chance to interact with us afterwards. So please send us a message and we will send you the link on how to do that. Again, we're happy that we're reaching hundreds of people now every week. That's very exciting for us. That means we're able to send this message, which is really life-changing, if you practice it, right? So I promise you, if you stay with us as often as you can, you will keep reminding yourself of the power you possess, the power you have to change your life, to heal your life, as Louise Hay said in her book. And if you do, the places you'll go. So we want to start this morning. We already started this morning with an affirmative prayer with Celia. Thank you, Celia. The title again is The Power Within, or The Voice Within. Some of you know you have it. Some of you may be just learning that you have this awesome power. Some of you know that you have this power to use, and you can really heal, and you can change your life. You can improve conditions in your life. Many of you have come to us having studied Ernest Holmes. Many more of you, we've learned, have come to you because you've encountered Louise Hay somewhere in the past 20 years or so. And you've been studying her and all of her books because she's the contemporary, she's more contemporary, and she's known all over the world. Louise Hay, incidentally, was a member of this center, this church, I think starting in the 70s through the early 80s, and where she was studying and learning to practice our teaching before writing her international bestseller, which was called You Can Heal Your Life, which was in 1984. Today I'm going to talk about the power within. And I know if you were devoted to Ernest Holmes or Louise Hay, or any of these people, some of this will be a reminder, and for any of the people who have studied. A lot of people thought that Ernest Holmes started some kind of new religion. And in the early days, people would think it was a cult or there was something strange about it. But the fact is, everything that Ernest taught was, he pulled together ancient thinking and ancient thought. He kind of consolidated them and brought the best ideas together and formed a philosophy of the ages born from many. It came together through his study of many other thinkers. So Ernest didn't start a new religion. He made important contributions to what we call the New Thought movement because he studied some of the ancient spiritual and philosophical traditions. He brought some of the ancient and modern spiritual traditions together. The New Thought movement has made a very important impact on modern spirituality. You can see bits and pieces of what we teach now in many of the traditional churches that still exist. They've brought into their teaching a lot of the things we've been teaching for quite a while. So what we've been teaching has influenced a number of other religions and spiritual movements. You can hear it people on TV shows. I won't mention all the names, but one thing about Ernest was he was very passionate about a person having individual experiences of this spirit within. He wanted them to learn to look within and discover this power and learn how to use it. There have been great teachers before Ernest. There's been great teachers throughout history. Most people don't pay attention because most people live in the here and now, and they're busy with their lives. But I'm here to emphasize today that there's nothing new about New Thought. It's been around in various forms for thousands of years. I thought I'd gather a few today together who are great advocates of looking within, inquiring within, discovering the power that they have, the presence. Teachers in most cases were, these teachers were all in most cases teaching their students to find a way to court that power, realize that power that's in them and operating through them. And they were doing this again long before Ernest. So we'll mention a few today. There's many others. I had to just deal with like a half a dozen or something. But the more I was digging, the more I, of course, found that there's been great thinkers, great proponents of this type of philosophy throughout time. First, I want to start with Lao Tzu. There he is. He lived between 600 and 300 BCE. And he has a quote there. At the center of your being, you have the answer. And I don't know if that's what's on the board. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are, and you know what to do. Like Ernest Holmes, he taught individuals create their own reality through thoughts and beliefs. He asked us to trust our inner voice, our inner wisdom. Lao Tzu encouraged us to look within for guidance, look for direction, listen to our inner voice, center ourselves, and begin to trust in it. If you learn to do affirmative prayer here, that's the first thing we do. We recognize there is power, and that power is within us. The power of the universe. As you think of the stars and the galaxies, the power and the energy that's in everything. Lao Tzu is encouraging us to realize that this power is within us, and we can trust it. We can learn how to use it as we prepare ourselves. And And then we listen to it. So he made an important contribution. He really, if you want to look him up, really, there's a lot to read about him that's really quite wonderful. But that was enough for me to mention this morning. His plea was for us to trust our own inner power, our inner wisdom. And so he was doing this centuries before Christ. Speaking of Jesus, the next person I'd like to briefly mention, who taught us, and he taught his followers to look within, was Jesus. Jesus, of course, lived, it's not before Christ, somewhere around our calendars around his life, but there's a photo or an image. I don't really know what he looked like, but that's the one that I could Google. Jesus said, "The kingdom is within you." And he said that in Luke 17th chapter. Jesus was emphasizing the source is to be found within. And spiritual fulfillment is available to every single one of us. And he said it would not be found in the world. I think I recall him saying, "Render unto Caesar the things that belong to Caesar. My kingdom is not of this world." So his suggestion was to look within, the same as we would tell you here every Sunday. He said, the kingdom will be found within, but by going to that secret place within you, and he was encouraging us to embark upon a spiritual journey, a journey within. And in so doing, we'll discover the truth of us. And he was encouraging us to develop a deeper understanding of our relationship with that power. This journey is one of self-discovery and inner growth. And it's a central aspect of his teaching. And communing with the Father, with the voice within. As we do, he was teaching it will bring you peace, wisdom, power, and much more. Jesus also was a proponent of loving everybody, love your brother as yourself, and that speaks of the idea of oneness. Love everyone, forgive everyone endlessly, 70 times 7. I guess I've got them out of order a little bit. Aristotle would be the next person I wanted to bring up today because he was essentially asking us to do the same thing. He made a huge contribution to this subject. He was one of the most influential philosophers in Western thought. He lived in Athens. He was a student of Plato. He said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning to all wisdom. Self-knowledge is essential for personal growth, and by looking within and cultivating that relationship, it will lead to transformation, spiritual growth." I next have Marcus Aurelius for us. Okay, there he is. Marcus Aurelius, born April 26th, 121 after the death of Christ. Okay. Marcus Aurelius, again, another person worth reading. Any of these people are really worth reading. His quote, he said, "Look within, wisdom is the foundation of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will dig a little." So again, he's saying the power, the presence, everything you're looking for is found within. Within you is the foundation of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will be persistent and dig. He was suggesting that the source of all positive qualities, happiness, peace, and joy can only be found within yourself. The idea of the fountain, which you've heard people use in modern day metaphysics a lot, we think came from him. There is this fountain of good. Louise uses the same analogy in her meditations, when she says, "Deep within you, there's an infinite well of good." Okay, I believe she probably got that from Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius again is suggesting that the source of all of this happiness, joy, peace can be found in one place only, and that is within yourself. The idea of the fountain suggests these qualities are constantly available to us like a never-ending source of water. And you might notice again that he said it is ever available to us if we dig. See, we live our lives, our modern lives, and we're always in reaction to everything. We're hustling and bustling, and we don't take that pause, the pause that we say that refreshes, but you could. If you take the time in the morning to meditate, and you take the time to connect, and you bring yourself or allow yourself to connect with this Spirit, you're tapping into this fountain, and you're connecting with it. It's always within you, though, most of the world operates without awareness of that. People who are on this call are actually, most part, actively trying to develop a relationship with this power, inquire within, calm ourselves down, and realize that there is this thing within us that responds to us. And Marcus Aurelius is suggesting it's ever available if we dig. If we look and we listen to the voice within, if we take responsibility for our happiness, and we seek within, we will find that there is a fountain of good always there, always awaiting us. It must be invited. The thing about spirit is always speaking. Now, if you're really busy and you can tune it out, you can tune it out. But the thing is, it's in you and it's operating through you. And sooner or later, it's going to get your attention, is my experience. It brings us lessons, and we can align ourselves with Spirit, and we learn the lessons quickly. We work with it. If we ignore it and we stuff it, and we do sometimes, it's there to guide and to woo. So we can take I think we can listen to Aurelius's point, and look within. That's his encouragement, because within you, again, is this foundation. It's always bubbling up. If you dig for it, even if you don't dig for it, it's going to reveal itself to you sooner or later. Emerson used to say that the dice of God are always loaded. And when I was a younger person, I didn't like that. But I understand it now. I can fly solo and I can ignore the voice, but there's always something there that will remind you, that will right itself within you. So you have an ally in Spirit. Spirit is a part of you, and it will always, eventually, get your attention. You're here to grow and evolve, and Spirit is here to provide you information and ideas for you to move forward. This teaching would suggest for any of us that we can tap into that and learn from it. I call it internal guidance. It's always available to us. And so that's what I pick up from Marcus Aurelius, and I hope you embrace some of these thoughts. I next thought of Rumi. Many of you have read Rumi. I've been reading sayings about Rumi for probably 20 years or longer, 30. And he was born September 30th, the year 1207. Many of you are very fond of this Persian poet and mystic. His quote was, "The universe is not outside of you." So any of you are praying to a God above or someplace else. That's not what we teach in religious science. And that's not what any of these great thinkers have ever said. The universe is not there. It's not outside of you. Well, I'll correct that. The universe is everywhere, okay? But what we're trying to understand is you're not separate from it. The universe is within you, and it's operating through you. So Rumi is saying the universe is not outside you. Look inside yourself, he said. And then he went on to say, everything that you ever could want, you already have. He taught everything you need is already within you. You might recall Jesus saying the kingdom is where? Within, it's at hand, right? And so, like Jesus, Rumi is saying the same thing. It's not out there. People look for, they'll go off on retreats, they'll take trips to mountains and deserts and everywhere else, and they'll go from prophet to prophet, church to church. And it's not found in the churches. It's not found in this physical building any more than it's found in the cathedrals or it's found anywhere else. What you're looking for, you already have. So it's not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you already have. Ernest Holmes said as much, when people are trying to build churches around his name. He was not interested in church building. He was interested in people having an authentic experience going within. So Rumi would be a great person that I'm sure influenced the whole stream of thought, new thought. Everything you want, you already have. Everything you need is already within you. He was stating, if you look within and you explore your inner self, you will discover your true nature. And then, as you commune with your true nature, you'll begin to experience more love and peace, joy. No matter what's going on in the world, and there's a lot going on in the world, just tune into the news for like a half an hour this weekend. No matter what's going on in the world outside you or around you, you have within you everything that you need. Look there and you'll find power. Power for good, power to bring yourself joy, peace, and to enable you to manifest many of your dreams and goals. He believed and taught that the external world is but a reflection of our inner being. It sounds a lot like Ernest Holmes' teaching to me. Your external world is but a reflection of your inner being. This quote encourages individuals to seek their own happiness and find it within rather than relying on other people to make you happy or external circumstances. By examining your own beliefs and looking at what works for you and what is positive and what's negative, by examining and transforming these conversations, these beliefs, and paying attention to your inner dialogue, you can tap into that fountain of good and live a more fulfilling and satisfying life. Again, you have this internal guidance. We live in a world of energy that's undivided. The energy that's in me is in you and it's in everybody. And if I tap into this, I can bring forth happiness and joy. His message is don't look for it from other people. Don't look for your good from your girlfriends, your boyfriends, your mothers, your fathers, from your jobs. The good that you're looking for is within you. The message here is, as you grow in your awareness that you are one with life and one with spirit, you're going to notice, it really lifts you, as you practice this idea. This is part of our teaching. We have classes. I recall being in the third year of the teaching years ago, and all we were ever talking about and meditating upon was the idea that there's one power, one energy, and that energy's within us. If you develop a connection or an idea that you're one with spirit, you're going to notice, you have more joy and that there's love that is radiating out from yourself and into the world. This requires practice. This requires doing affirmative prayer. This requires doing affirmations. This requires changing the lesser ideas that you hold on to, letting go of the resentments, embracing, the truth of people is that they're one with life, and so are you. The truth with people is they're doing the best that they can. You might not think so, but they really are. They're doing the best that they can with the information, understanding, and awareness that they have. So this is our work. Our work is to understand that all is well and that everyone else is doing the best they can. And we're here to lift people up and forgive people in the sense that we realize, I'm doing the best I can, and then I want to extend that understanding in my interactions with others. And if I'm contemplating on the fact that I'm one with this one power, and I know that everybody else is, I'm going to have peace. I'm going to experience more joy, and that's going to begin to radiate out from me into the world. He next said that your inner self is pure. It's pure love, intelligence, wisdom. And the encouragement was, look within to listen to it. Listen to its loving voice. It's always there to guide us. So I want to move on to the next. The next person I wanted to comment on was William Blake, who I remember my father always commenting on. My father was well studied in literature. I think we have a picture of him, yeah. Born in 1757. His quote was, William Blake said, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. So in other words, perception. We're always asking you to put on a new pair of glasses to learn how to see things differently, right? Because if I keep on seeing someone as bad or a villain or whatever, then every experience I'm going to have of them, I'm carrying a lot of information. Ernest Holmes told us that we carry with us a lot of ancient corpses, okay? We have opinions about people, places, and things. We have prejudices of every kind. So Blake, in the early 1800s, said, if the doors of perception are cleansed, that means if you get rid of your history, his story, you got all these stories about everything, right? About politics, about people, about friends. If these doors could be cleaned or cleansed, you would be able to live in new moments. It's very difficult to be in a new moment when you have a lot of prejudice. Just think of your resentments. Think of the people you already have all these strong opinions about. So here's a huge challenge coming from Blake in the early 1800s. If the doors of your perception were cleansed, you'd really be able to be in a new moment. You'd be innocent of judgment. And then you'd be able to look at every person as they really are. They're an incarnation of life, of God, and an individualization of God, as are you. So that's a huge challenge from Blake. Clearing that perception so you can really be in a new moment. If you're carrying anything against any person, place, or thing, then you're not in a new moment. It's impossible to be in a new moment of love and peace when you're carrying a bunch of junk around with you. So it's a strong message there. We have the power to create. If we go within and cultivate an awareness of spirit, we're going to understand that we have power, and we can begin to understand that we can think and create because the inner self is one with the one. You are one with power, you are one with creative intelligence, you are one with love and light, and you have the ability to start it all over right here, right now, today. You have an inner voice, and it's always guiding you, it's wooing you. It's your choice, of course, if you will allow that guidance. You can say, no, I'd rather be, stuck in my positions. There's a lot of people who don't want to grow. They don't like change, and they're going to try to keep everything the same, but it's really impossible, ultimately, because life is going to go forward with us or without us, and the lessons keep circling around until we get them. I'll quote an old minister friend who used to say, when we're experiencing something over and over again, she would say, it's the same song, different verse, a little bit louder and a little bit worse. So what she was trying to get at was the lessons are here for us to evolve and grow. And if we get the lesson, we get it, we learn, If you're unwilling to pay attention to that inner voice that wants to guide you, it's your choice. From Blake's quote today, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to us as it is, infinite. See, if you can approach a new day with a new moment, you're like a child. There's so much innocence and love radiating out from you. But, for you to have that, you have to be willing to forgive and let go of all the nonsense that, wherever there's a resentment, shame, or blame, we have to bring ourselves to a point where we've let that go. Blake was saying we're encouraged to clear away any of this debris, any of the old stories, old tapes, so we can see clearly. He also said, I thought this was kind of interesting, I must create a system within myself, positive thoughts, right? I must create a system or be enslaved by another's. I will not reason and compare. My business is to create. I must create a system of my own. He would suggest that each of us are thinkers in our own lives. I will not reason and compare. Our business is to create. When he said we must create a system of our own or be enslaved by another person's system, in other words, you're an individualization of God life. You get to think you are a creator in your own right? So why not think and use your connection and use, speak from an authentic place. Think and use the power you have rather than repeating what was taught to you maybe from your grandparents and you've just not examined ever since. This recommendation reminds me a little bit of Jesus telling his mother that he needed to be about spirits or his father's business. Blake, in addition to speaking about our inner connection, was encouraging people to take an active role in shaping their lives, rather than simply accepting what has been passed down to them. If you could, sometimes I ask people, where does this belief come from? Either they're not good enough, or they've sinned, or there's all kinds of things, and it's generally passed down to people through time and through other people, their upbringing. So he wanted to create a system. He said, I need to create my own system or I'm going to be enslaved by other people. And he says, my business is to create. So in addition to speaking about that inner connection, he was encouraging people to take an active role in shaping and creating their own lives, rather than simply accepting, what's been passed down. Examine that stuff. And what isn't true for you anymore, please have the willingness to trade in the lesser for the greater. Now, I'm going to move next. Any of these people are really worth studying, quite honestly. It was fascinating for me. I want to move next to Ralph Waldo Emerson. There he is. Ralph Waldo Emerson was an American essayist, lecturer, poet, and one of the most influential figures in American history. He was the leading figure in the transcendental movement that emerged in the early 19th century. Transcendentalists believed in the power of the individual. Okay, this is very similar to what everyone I've spoken of today believed in. The power of the individual experience and the individual intuition. So he's encouraging us also to go within, tap within, because the answers you're looking for are not found in God's in the heavens above. They're always going to be found within the individual. Emerson advocated going within and learning to trust that inner voice and intuition, rather than blindly accepting the opinions and beliefs of what you hear on the news or what's been repeated to you during your the past 20, 30 years of your life. Go within. You have access to everything within you. Emerson had a huge impact on American culture, and he inspired a generation of thinkers and activists. There's a whole list, but I just thought I'd mention Henry David Thoreau. And Emerson had a huge impact on Martin Luther King Jr. So we all study Emerson who are in this teaching, and Google his quotes, and if you love them, which you love them, then I'd encourage you to read his essays. It's a little bit of work because he wrote, a century ago, but they're breathtaking in their beauty. And I would suggest, having gone through them a dozen times, if you're challenged with them, read them aloud, because he was an orator and just read through them and you will find passages that are breathtaking. But the main thing here is he was always talking to us about becoming an original thinker and going within and trusting that inner voice and intuition. I hate to leave Emerson so quickly, but I want to move on to Mahatma Gandhi. There he is. Okay. Mahatma Gandhi said, everyone who wills, every single one of us who will, can hear that inner voice. It is within every one of us. Gandhi spoke a great deal about this power within. And like others, he said, it's available if you dig for it. See, the Spirit is always trying to get our attention, but he's speaking of you need to prepare yourself for it. Gandhi taught that we need a little preparation so we can hear this voice and we can trust it. At this stage in my life, that voice is very active. Whenever I do something that's off or wrong or whatever, I get guidance, and oftentimes I get guidance just in quiet moments. Certainly if I'm in meditation, ideas come to me. I don't know where they come from. Guidance can also come in our dreams. But Gandhi was preoccupied with this. He said preparation, he said, we need to turn away from the opinions of the world. I would think of cable news. We must turn away from that. We must turn away from all the negative chatter that's in our hearts and our minds and that we listen to from friends and family. We must turn away from all of this. We must be about our Father's business. That's Jesus. We must prepare ourselves in our personal reflection, in our meditation. We must begin to quiet our minds so that we can then, that's the preparation, so we can begin to listen. He said, it is there. It's in you, operating through you. He said we would hear it, or we would better be equipped to use it if we prepared ourselves. I would say take the pause, do what you can to quiet the incessant chatter. I'll close just with everyone who wills can hear this inner voice. It's in every single one of us. I want to next move to Ernest Holmes, our founder. Ernest Holmes, as many of you know, is the founder of our teaching. But as you can see, he studied and he borrowed from many of these great teachers that I have brought up today, and many others. He was an American New Thought spiritual leader and writer. Ernest grew up in Maine in a religious family, but he became very disillusioned with traditional religion, organized religion, and early on began searching for a deeper understanding of spirituality. In his search, he was exposed to many teachers, notably Ralph Waldo Emerson and Emmett Fox. Taking all of these folks that I mentioned and many others, the Vedics, I'm trying to remember some of the Eastern thought that he studied. But as you see, put it all together, I know he came up with a philosophy which is very similar to what was taught by many of the people I've brought up today. He emphasized that each person has the ability to access this divine within them and create their own reality through their thoughts and beliefs. He taught that we have infinite power within us, that each of us are one with the one power, each of us are one with the presence, and knowing this presence is everywhere, a presence that is never absent. So he went on to say we can create our own reality through our thoughts and beliefs. Ernest, too, believed in quieting the mind, centering ourselves in the awareness that we are one with the one source and that we are individualizations of this source. And I thought, let me give you a few more points from Ernest. He said, the only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. Every Thursday night, I ask the audience, what's it been like being you? And I'm really wanting you to think about what have been your thoughts this week, your predominant thoughts. Because your thoughts and your thinking this week, today, will be creating the rest of your afternoon, and will be creating your week. So when Ernest says the only limit we have to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. So we're always encouraging every Thursday and Sunday and Wednesday now to lift to trade in those thoughts, trade in the negatives, the lesser thoughts for the positive. Because it's our doubts, it's our unbelief that, it shows up. If you think that if you think that you are not good, if you think that you're unlovable, if you think that you're, whatever you think that's negative, it's going to show up. So he's challenging us with this. The only limit you have to realizing health and wealth and great relationships will be your doubts, the doubts that you have. So we want to really have the willingness to release these negatives and turn them around. And that leads into his second point. Change your thinking, change your thoughts, and as you do, you will change your world. Next, he said it's not enough just to believe in the power of the mind. Okay? You must begin to use it. That's his next point. One must learn to use that power. Ernest next said, miracles happen every single day, not just remote country villages or holy shrines halfway across the globe, but the miracles happen here in our own lives, right here, right now. Next, the state of your being, the state of your life is nothing more than a reflection of your state of mind. So if you look to your life and you're having a bad day, he's saying, the state of things is nothing more than a reflection of the state of your mind. So if you want it to change, nobody here, we don't teach that you get saved. You know that. Louise Hay and Ernest Holmes would say we're each responsible for our own experiences. So if you don't like what you're experiencing, then, take a pause, find the time to have a conversation with yourself. Connect and center yourself in the awareness that you're one with God, one with life, and allow that guidance to come in. Make the positive statements in affirmative prayer. When negative ideas come up, neutralize those negatives. Experience them, yes, but then neutralize them and replace them with what is true. The only limitation that you have is within your own belief system, in your consciousness. The next I hadn't heard before, and I had to think about it a little bit. He said, the secret of life is to make yourself a soul and give yourself to others. The secret to life is to make yourself a soul and give yourself to others. As you raise your vibration and you're loving yourself more and more, you're going to be less and less concerned with the things in the world. You're going to be loving life, loving yourself, and you will be extending what you know and who you are to the world. And, I don't know that everyone's in that place yet, but we begin where we are, and one thought at a time, one day at a time. And we elevate, we start to hitch our wagon to the stars that Emerson spoke of. We lift our sights. As you lift your consciousness, you'll be creating avenues in mind, and you will begin to step into a whole different type of world experiences. So these quotes that I shared showcased Ernest Holmes' beliefs in the power we have within, and the importance of affirmative prayer and self-reflection, and the potential that we have for transformation in our everyday living. I next want to mention, because she came afterwards, is Louise Hay. I'm sure we have a photo. There she is. Louise Hay, again, was probably our most famous student. You know, the good that she's done in the world probably eclipses the others because she's more contemporary, and it's a time of, her message has, you know, been around the world, her audios, her videos, her books. She simply said, change your thinking and change your life. Louise was a former student here at our center in New York, First Church, and she was a New Thought leader and author of the international bestseller, You Can Heal Your Life. Louise Hay emphasized the importance of listening to the voice within, or what she referred to as the inner voice. She believed that this inner voice was our source of wisdom and guidance, that it would help individuals make positive changes in their lives. She encouraged individuals to quiet their minds and listen to their inner voice in order to tap into their own inner wisdom and connect with their own inner power. Louise believed in the power of affirmations and taught that by repeating positive affirmations to yourself, individuals could change their thoughts and beliefs. You know, and she would say, as you keep repeating the affirmations, you're going to start to build up your consciousness so you can create positive change in your life. Louise Hay has published a lot of material, books, wonderful audios also that are available on Apple and Google, YouTube, or you can simply buy the materials at Hay House, her publishing company. She always emphasized the importance of connecting with the voice within, as did everyone I spoke of today. She said, you have the power to heal, and saying famously, all healing is self-healing. She understood that the universe can't do for you what it can't do through you. She, of course, borrowed this from Ernest Holmes. Whatever good you can imagine would become yours if you can imagine yourself having it. And if you can know that you have it, that it's here and now. Telling us the universe always supports us and accepts us as we are, where we are, and that the universe responds to us affirmatively. If we can say, I love and accept and approve of myself exactly as I am, when we're doing our spiritual work, we want to mentally see ourselves having this greater capacity, these greater buckets. So that's an affirmation of hers that I've loved for many years, where you would say to yourself, I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. She wanted us to imagine and envision ourselves having great good in every area of our life, approaching the ocean of life with bigger buckets, was an idea that I believe came from Raymond Charles Barker as well. She wanted us to imagine having health, having good relationships at home and at work. I have a couple more. She said, you have within you right now everything you need to deal with whatever the world may throw at you. And then went on to say, the point of power is always in the present moment. And you have this power. In all she did and taught, she emphasized the importance of connecting with this voice within. In addition to her impact as a teacher and author, Louise Hay was also a great philanthropist and a very strong advocate for various social and environmental causes. She founded the Hay Foundation, which supports organizations working to improve the lives of individuals and communities around the world. She remains, even though she passed away in 2017, a very important figure in the New Thought movement, and her teachings continue to inspire and influence individuals around the globe. Her legacy continues to have a significant impact of many millions of people, and her teachings continue to be relevant and important today. The hundreds of people who sign on to our website every week, I would say at least 80% of them have been reading or listening to her material. I next want to briefly talk about affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer, we used to call it spiritual mind treatment, and maybe in the past 10 or 15 years, we've been referring to it more and more as affirmative prayer. Ernest Holmes encouraged us to learn to live the affirmative life. So I thought I'd talk about that just for a moment. The prayer process that we teach is a very powerful tool for personal transformation and growth. It has helped thousands of individuals bring forth healings and improvements of all kinds. In it, we recognize that there's one energy, one power in the universe, and that we're connected with it. It's within, and we learn that, as we learn to commune with it, listen to it, and be guided by it, we can use this power for great good to heal and to create the lives that we desire. The practice of affirmative prayer is dynamic. As individuals grow and use it more, they'll be expanding their consciousness, their awareness, and they begin to understand this power is limitless and it's always available. I was very lucky to get to know Reverend Jane Claypool, who's passed away the past decade, who lived in Carlsbad, California. And in a class I took with her, she said, spiritual mind treatment is the crown jewel of religious science. And, I just spoke of a lot of authors today, just actually a few, who are all asking us to inquire within and realize the power is within. Jane Claypool taught me and others. She says affirmative prayer is really the thing that sets us apart from many of these other people, because Ernest Holmes, in the glossary of our textbook, spoke of the power of this prayer process. If you learn how to do affirmative prayer, it's more than an affirmation. It's a place where you bring yourself to a point of belief. And as you do that, you actually have the ability to, more than affirm and hope, you come from a place where you know that there's healing, you know that there's a divine pattern of health, you know that you have a great relationship or great relationships. Reverend Jane years ago said to me, this is the thing that really, really differentiates us from the rest of the New Thought movement. I didn't look it all up yesterday, but I know this much. If you were to go to the glossary of the textbook, Ernest Holmes would say affirmative prayer treatment it's a process where he said it's the time and the art and the method that we employ to rid the negativity or the negation from our consciousness. Where we have all this stuff going on within us, we enter in this prayer process where we recognize that there is power. There is one power, and that power is within us now. And I declare that I'm whole and I'm complete, and I know it is so. And I'm healthy and I'm prosperous, and I know it is so. So you're starting out by recognizing there's one energy, one power, one God, and that power is within me right now. And then you declare. And the thing is, if you say it with a feeling and there's an acceptance within you, which is the fourth step, you give thanks for the awareness that you have, and you release this idea, and you have created a spiritual entity within the mind of God itself. If you run into any challenges as you're doing that process, what you'll do then is in other words, you've done a prayer process where you're proclaiming the good, and something comes up within you that says, oh no, that's not true. Then you're going to release the need for that negative experience. You're going to neutralize that negative idea, and you're going to replace it with something that is true and positive. Once you learn how to do this prayer process, once you really learn how to do it and you bring yourself through it and you neutralize whatever might come up, you're developing a very powerful prayer process within you that can bring forth the healing of conditions, the changing of everything. That's why I brought Reverend Jane into the discussion today, because she was one of the greats. And her great contribution was telling people about the value, the power that's available in spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. She too, like all the others I've discussed today, would be talking about the importance of going within and listening to that voice. But she took it a little bit further by saying, you can definitely use this process. She and I and many of us have seen all kinds of healings during our ministries where people have had every type of disease and every type of condition that was definitely either improved or healed through the use of affirmative prayer. I will definitely teach a class on affirmative prayer sometime soon. For now, though, today's lesson was about realizing that you have power in you. Every one of the people I spoke of today suggested that you go within and understand that it's there and it's awaiting your discovery. Some have said it's the best kept secret of the ages, spirit within you. It's always there attempting to get your attention. So there's power for good in the universe, as Dr. Holmes said, and you can definitely use it to change your world. And so it ends. So it is. Thank you.